Hello everyone, Jose of Joy Fish Keeping. This is what I want to call round two of these three discus here. The previous one I called it Southern Fish Death. I started out with these three discus. They are between 6 and 7 inches discus. They are currently in quarantine at about between the second and third week at this point that you're looking at. They are very healthy looking discus. Usually when I get them, I observe them for a while. I look for certain color patterns, for my collection that I would wish to have. And when I find them, I usually just take them like this particular white one. Now, what happened in this case, as just to recap previously, the yellow one that is just kind of hiding behind the other one. At this point, they're doing quite well. This was done early on. But for some reason, the yellow one just did a few dart move quickly, and he just suddenly died, which I have seen previously on other fish channel. Now, what happened? Why did he die? There was a few things that I want to go further into some detail, which what my feeling is that what happened. I don't want to blame it on the fish itself or the way I got them from, but more failure on my part, which it would be nice to say that everything in fish keeping is perfect, but the unfortunate thing is that we lose fish, sometimes unexplained, sometimes for reasons that are probably preventable from our part. But there was a multifactorial, I believe, in this fish death. So the yellow one, which is extremely healthy looking, very thick, healthy, heavy, strong guy, passed, and then 2 days later, the red one that we've seen on the front also passed. So, but I will tell you what my feelings are, and these are stuff that could have been preventable if it was my reasons for it, but I will go into detail. Okay, the first thing is all my fish I quarantine when they come into the house for a period of 4 to 6 weeks, regardless whether they are $2 fish or they are $300 discus. I treat them all the same, because eventually those small fish that you're gonna come in like a tetra or cardinal or any kind that maybe cost you $2, you're gonna put them in with a collection of discus. If they're gonna bring in a disease, you're gonna pay dearly for it, financially and emotionally, as I did lose about 20 discus over 3 years ago, and it has taken me a while to get them to current stock level. So one of the feelings is that this is a 20-gallon tank. They're currently under treatment. I use a series of, you can see what my routine quarantine process is. Some people don't medicate. I choose to medicate. That is up to you. If you on that band that says I don't medicate, I just observe them. What I have noticed is that sometimes a fish look apparently very well, and before you know it, then suddenly comes up later, maybe a little bit late. I was treating currently with a trio that I use, which is kanamycin, metronidazole, and nitrofurazone. This is a trio that comes mixed together. Those three together, they consider them a miracle, a wonder cure. It kind of hits most fish illnesses that we deal with, aerobic or anaerobic bacteria. So they were doing fine throughout the thing. But now one of the things that we know is that the antibiotics can affect beneficial bacteria as well as the good as well as the bad one. So your nitrogen cycle can crash. For those of you who might not be familiar with the nitrogen cycle, is usually fish waste in form of nitrogen waste. Ammonia is a nitrogen compound. You could have it where ammonia in higher levels can damage the gills for the fish, and it can kill them. Medication can disrupt the nitrogen cycle. So what happens is that you wind up building toxic levels. So if you don't keep on top of it, you can develop toxic levels and the fish can wind up dying. Generally, I do not lose fish during quarantine process, at least not discus. I have not lost them before. I've lost some small ones that during transport and everything else that they go through, you may lose. If I buy 30 cardinals, I may lose a few. You kind of expect that. So sometimes I buy more than I hope to keep at the end. So that's kind of not unusual. But anyway, but the discus, generally I have not had a problem losing them during quarantine. The other thing is I always add prime during the process, because I do expect every 2 days I add it. It is good for 48 hours. It neutralizes the ammonia, the nitrates, and nitrites. You will still test positive for them because it forms other nitrogen compounds that does not affect the fish, but still the nitrogen, which is what the kit tests for, it would test positive, does not affect the fish. At some point, I was just between giving them a rest between any treatments. So I wasn't adding prime. I just maybe missed it a few days. So then the fish suddenly, when it dies, the first thing I did, I said, okay, what's up here? I did a water change to protect the others. I tested, and the ammonia level was very high, pretty dark green. I said, okay, I kind of maybe messed up, was neglectful, not as watchful as I tend to be. So I kind of blamed it on possible high ammonia levels. And you know that in the nitrogen cycles, you go from ammonia, and the beneficial bacteria will go from ammonia to nitrates, and then nitrates, which you generally move by water change, which is not as harmful. So I was only testing positive for ammonia at this point in time. So I did the water change, I added brine as I usually do, and I continue. I just laid off the antibiotics for a couple of days. Another day later, the red one also dies. Now this one was a little slow going, the other one's kind of sudden. This one was just, as you see in the videos, this one was just kind of didn't have the strength, was laying in one spot and still breathing for a while, but eventually she passed. And then I started searching a little bit more. Okay, I made a few changes on this tank. This particular quarantine tank, 20-gallon, was filtered by 2 sponge filters that contain biological media. I've never been too much of a fan of sponge filters. They're unsightly. And you know, the other reasons about sponge filters, they're great for a purpose. And I started using for the first time sponge filters on this rack system that I have here for quarantine and breeding and treatment and so on. So, but it does accumulate a lot of garbage and sometimes underneath it. So I decided to use a HOB or hang 'em back filter. It's a lot more cleaner. It does keep the tank cleaner, and certainly you don't have the unsightliness of it. So that was one of the things. So the constant bubbling from the sponge filter breaks the surface, and it provides additional oxygenation. Well, it is a known fact that medications in the tank can decrease the oxygen carrying capacity of the water. So possibly low oxygenation. Although the HOB provides some agitation on the water surface, maybe it wasn't enough. So I'm saying maybe low oxygenation was a reason. Again, only this one discus and the other one were the only one affected. So I'm saying possibly the second case or reason may have been low oxygen level. So what I did was I added 2 air stones to add oxygenation and cause more water movement and surface agitation. Of course, at this point, I am grabbing at straws, looking for a possible reason, but as often it is with fish death, sometimes you don't know the real reason. So these 2 were the only one affected. This red mace pigeon there, he was not affected at all, and neither were other fish that were in there under quarantine also. Then I say possibly was it medication related. Again, it's the same recommended dose. I do daily water changes, 25% between each dosing as recommended by the manufacturer of the medications. Again, I have not had an issue before with discus. Some fish are not tolerant and then I treat differently, but again, that's another thing. Possible water quality, again, daily water changes. Ammonia was the only thing that was out of place because, again, explain reasons, antibiotic, crashing the nitrogen cycle. This particular tank that we're looking at right now is the 90-gallon tank. This is a electric blue acara. I had 3 of them that same day or day later. One of the 3, I found them on the corner as I was just checking over the I saw a lot of activity in one corner. I said, what's going on here? A pleca was over it, and then one of them again, it was died again. What happened? I don't know. Again, one of those things that we don't know in fish death. Then I was you see this one up here, this rainbow fish. He is currently in treatment outside of the tank as he had been kind of hiding out there and changing behavior, and you see the skin, there's kind of splotches or whatever. So I took him out and treated him. He's now happy swimming, but he's under treatment still. The acara at some point was hiding up there along with it, but he would come out to feed. So I said, okay, maybe he was just being bullied by somebody else, which I have not seen any bullying. So again, this is one of those things that fish death in the hobby, you never know. We can possibly make mistakes. We know we make mistakes. We know we all have killed fishes, but it's a hard thing to sometimes deal with. There's not the good feeling about, I killed a fish or I lost a fish. There is the financial part of it, especially these discus at their prices, they can be expensive, but it's always never happy to lose fish I included this clip in the last video on round 1, and it was just at a fish store. I had not seen this behavior because I usually buy the male rainbow fish only for the color. So this looks like it's a mating dance, and each fish seems to do their own little dance. But anyway, I thank you for listening me ramble throughout this video. Hopefully there's some information that we can learn here. The fish have been replaced, the same kind of fish. I like those, and I went back and I got them replaced. So I will do a follow-up videos on those. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.